Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale die-cast Iron Man figure unboxing and review. Today we're taking a look at the black and gold version of the Mark 7. Now I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research. Make sure you are comfortable before buying. I have popped a link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Hot Toys Iron Man figure review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, I reckon this looks sick. Because this guy is an exclusive, they wanted to make the box feel a little bit more special. And they did that by not using figure photography or movie stills potentially colored in black and gold to match the figure, which would have absolutely cheapened the vibe, and instead going heavy on metallic foils for the gold and the silver sections. We've got this tech circuitry looking stuff in the background and an arc reactor in the middle. You can see how reflective that gold is. I would pretty much describe it as chrome. It's super shiny. On the side of the box, we've got an Avengers logo, another arc reactor, as well as his name down below. Around the back, warnings, legal information, as well as Hot Toys store locations. Now, this is done in the usual Hot Toys die-cast packaging style, so super thick, sturdy cardboard on the outside. Then a foam insert that houses the figure, with some artwork etched into the surface. Oh, and they've done that on the lid as well. They etched this, right? I don't think it's carved or sculpted in. This would be done by laser, I would imagine. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. As for the figure itself, first in-hand impressions, I can already tell this guy is going to pop in an Iron Man collection. Going with chrome for the gold and black was a very bold choice, but so far so good. I reckon it absolutely worked for them. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first. Now, at the time of filming this video, none of the Flash movie releases are out yet. And the reason I bring that up is because they were the first figures to be announced with this particular style of display base. And while it looks good, the one takeaway for me with this early sneak preview of this base is it feels terrible in hand. It's super lightweight and completely hollow. At least there's a light up effect. Now up on top, it's made to look like an arc reactor. There's a bunch of gold chrome, and not one, but two mold defects right in the middle of this central part for the arc reactor. Around the front, it says Mark 7 black and gold version. Now, once again, they decided not to include a USB-C cable. So it's BYO cable. When you do plug it in, there's a light up effect around the edge of the base. That looks great, but my favorite part about it has to be the top, because now it sells the whole arc reactor vibe. I am going to try and hardwire this in my collection because I do want to have it lit up all the time. I know it looks like there's a shitload of stuff here, and sheer count-wise, yes, we do have many parts and pieces, but they're mostly just interchangeable armor plates. We've got some thigh guards with the rocket sticking out of them, missile pods for his traps and back flaps, plus some interchangeable gauntlets with the rockets attached. We will try all of this stuff out on him later on. Same thing goes with these pieces. These are less detailed, but you'd use them if you want to make it look like Tony has already spent all of the rockets, and he's detached the compartments to save on extra weight, perhaps. I've always been curious how many of y'all actually use the laser beam effects, because they're huge. You're going to need a ton of width to accommodate them. They're cast in translucent plastic, so if you light them correctly, they should sort of look like they're glowing. They connect up to the laser projectors. There's a square peg on the end, and the projectors themselves are permanently attached to a set of closed fist hands. Speaking of hands, lastly, we get a full array of the usual suspects, ranging from the articulated finger hands with the translucent repulsor sections and the articulated armor plates on the back, to repulsor blasting hands. The armor plating is fixed up permanently, and the wrist peg port is at an angle so they sit correctly on the forearms. And two closed fists already installed on him out of the box. What we're going to do now is get the black and gold chrome Mark 7 itself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. I've always loved the Mark 7, and this color scheme for it is something else. The chrome adds an entirely new element, this super reflectiveness that just slaps. I was worried at first that the black would be too slimming of a color because I wanted him to retain that signature Mark 7 beefiness. Luckily, I don't think it ended up being an issue because he is more than swole enough. This is still one of their best molds, so it makes sense that they keep coming back to it over and over. I know it's a running joke at this point that, oh, there's another Hot Toys Iron Man, but when they're doing concept designs that end up looking this good, I just can't stay mad at them. Up close and personal. Now, I usually prefer not to appear in my own videos because I like to let the figures themselves shine. And by all means, he's absolutely shining, but what I'm trying to say is the gold is like a proper mirror chrome finish, so it's unavoidable, I'm afraid. Hi, you are going to see me in the reflections, and I apologize in advance for that. Starting off with his helmet. This is the tried and true Mark 7 helmet mold. We've seen it multiple times before. Now, they have gone with that, like I said, mirror chrome, and they haven't put that frosted layer over the top like they did for their chrome clone troopers. Some people might prefer that because it limits fingerprints, whereas this guy is an absolute fingerprint magnet. You are going to be wiping him down constantly. Maybe wearing gloves is the right call with this guy. They have still retained the detail on the underside of the faceplate as well, by the way. Sometimes when they go chrome, it ends up softening the edges of armor pieces. They found a way around that with this black and gold chrome Mark 7, and I'm pretty sure you can already see it, but we will discuss it in more detail in just a minute. The color scheme is pretty straightforward. It's essentially three main colors. Most of the armor is done in vacuum metallized silver. Then they've added a layer of black paint over the top. We've got vacuum metallized gold and a satin finish gunmetal. It's also a metallic, but not quite as shiny as everything else. They've used that as the accent color just to break up the black chrome. Now, the flaps around the back can open. There's even some grille detail on the underside, and you can open the bottom ones as well. When you close these up, don't forget to push them back in because otherwise they will be a little bit gappy. Now, he comes with the replacement top pieces, so let's give those a go. These ones can still open and close, and there's that grille detail on the underside, just like the normal flaps. But the difference here is the top panels are open, exposing some missiles around the back painted in chrome gold. And around the front, the bomb bay doors are split open and there are a ton of little rockets up on top there. But there is another option as well. If you want to slim him down a touch and ditch these entirely, totally doable. Ooh, this I don't mind at all. It reduces the bulk over the traps, and it introduces that satin finish gunmetal up here, which ties in with the gunmetal on the underpart for the shoulder pads, and on the covers for the gauntlet-mounted rockets. The arc reactor is fully detailed underneath the translucent window, and you can remove the chest plate to expose a lot of bling and some more sculpted detail. I've never been partial to this look on the normal Mark 7, but seeing as though this is a concept suit anyway, I don't mind that he now looks a little bit different, already said it, but a little less bulky. Okay, so normally when you vacuum metallize chrome something, that process thickens up all of the individual parts and pieces, because it's a coating on the surface. It rounds out edges and softens detail. they had a very clever way of getting around that while still being able to use vac metal chrome. What they did was ingenious. They knew they wanted chrome black. Instead of going straight for black, they chromed everything in silver first, then added a very thin layer of this deep, rich obsidian black paint over the top, so that all of the edges still have the silver showing through. So it looks like they've painstakingly panel lined every single piece of armor. They didn't do that. This is just how they painted it, and it's worked. Honestly, I would love to see more Iron Man figures painted in this exact same way. We will try out the switch out gauntlets that are meant to be paired with the laser beam effect firing hands in just a minute. Out of the box, these gauntlet rockets are pre-installed on those forearms, so if you want to do what I'm about to, you will have to remove them from those gauntlets and then you can install them on these ones. The reason I prefer this look is because, number one, I feel it's more movie accurate, and number two, it's less busy. There's less going on with the gauntlets themselves. You can see that it sticks up pretty far, so you have to suspend your disbelief because if Tony's arm was inside the suit, there wouldn't necessarily be a ton of room for the rocket to slide inside the forearm and then for the panel to sit over the top of it. While we have his arm up, we can admire all of the sculpted detail on the underside, which isn't something you really get to see all that often. The laser beam is going to need a hell of a lot more room than this, so I had to adjust the camera a little. If you have the lasers on both sides, well, then you're going to need even more space. See what I mean? The bloody thing is still not in frame. This laser beam is huge. I like that the hand is attached to the wrist peg at an angle. That way it gets out of the way of the laser beam projector, and this piece can sit in line with the rest of the gauntlet. And they've taken a chunk out of the front of it, so that nothing is colliding with the underside of the laser projector. It also looks like the gauntlet has split open, revealing all of these techie panels. I decided to go with the smooth top plate, but I'm now sort of regretting that because it doesn't peg in place securely. Remember before when I said vacuum metallizing thickens up pieces? Well, for some reason they vacuum metallized the peg on the underside of the gauntlet rocket. So when they had it pre-installed in the gauntlet at the factory, it stretched out the port just a little so that now this piece is way too loose in there. Back to stock, and I'm pleased to report that even though we tried out the rocket on this gauntlet, it didn't stretch out the port, so this panel still plugs in place securely. Coming down to the thighs, these gold shiny pieces are removable, and we can replace them instead with the rocket pod versions. It looks like these panels have split open and the rockets are now sticking out of them. Or, if you want to go a little bit less blingy, if that's even a word, they've also included the gunmetal ones. I reckon these might be my go-to. Let me know which look you prefer down in the comments below. We may as well replace this with the gold one just so everything is symmetrical. Now, he retains the pop-out flare canisters on his hips. You might want to make sure to move these panels out of the way if you want to have the flare canisters fully popped out, just to minimize paint rub as much as possible. These panels can open on the sides of the legs, and there is some hidden honeycomb detail underneath, painted in vacuum metallized chrome gold. The thrusters on the legs can open, and you can reveal the pistons underneath this panel on the back of the boots. This used to be a staple for Iron Man figures back in the day, but not so much anymore. They have done away with it, but I'm glad to see it here on the Mark 7. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left, black and gold Iron Man Mark 7, and on the right, the normal Mark 7. What a difference a paint job can make. They're the same suit, but they look entirely different. And don't forget, you can switch out the armor plates to make them look even more different from one another. Is the black and gold one a necessary addition if you have the standard Mark 7? Not really. But that doesn't mean I don't love it, because I absolutely do. Next up, the competition. Another exclusive repaint Mark 7. We don't all have infinite room in the collection. I wish I did, so I could have all of the Mark 7 repaints, the ones that have been released and the ones yet to come, lined up on the shelf. But I don't. So something's got to give. I'm going to have to pick which one is my favorite of the two. It's a tough call because I like them both, but right now, seeing them standing in front of me, I am leaning towards the black and gold. It's something so different, and it is going to stand out for all the right reasons. Going over articulation, please be careful of the chrome, because if you're not moving stuff out of the way so that they don't collide with other bits and pieces when you articulate limbs, there's going to be paint rub and there's going to be damage. Starting off with his helmet. There is a ball joint at the base of the neck and another ball joint underneath the helmet itself on a hinge. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, plenty of range for a flight pose, swivel and pivot side to side. Shoulder pads do move out of the way, so let's do that. The arms extend out to there, going up to there, forward and back on a ball joint. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Make sure there's a gap, swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow. Then for the wrist peg, it's a ball joint. His torso separates on two different joints, crunching forward to there, going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. With the legs, these panels move out the way, same thing with the side ones. They drop down on ratchets at the hips, going forward to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. I've got no idea how I've never noticed this before with my other Iron Man figures, but for his knees, he's got a triple bend. One at the top, one in the middle, and one down below. Combined with all three of them, and if you open up this panel, you get way more than 90. And lastly, for the feet, they're on multiple different joints, good for forward and back rotation, ankle tilt, as well as toe articulation. Moving on to the three cool and three annoying things. The first annoying thing is the display base. While visually speaking, it's a hit, I love the way it looks, the feel in hand is awful. It's super lightweight, it's hollow, and the plastic comes across cheap and nasty. The second annoying thing, and it's not technically the figure's fault because he is just reusing the Mark 7 mold, it's the button cell batteries. I know it would have been difficult to re-engineer this guy to use an internal power supply, so you could have plugged him in, charged up the battery, then pushed a single button to light everything up. And then if the battery eventually dies, you could have had him plugged in all the time with a USB-C cable. Still, I reckon now is probably the time to get that re-engineering work done, as I highly doubt that this is the last Mark 7 repaint that we're going to see. The third annoying thing is probably going to sound a little stupid, bordering on nitpicky. The chrome is a fingerprint magnet. There's not really a way to entirely eliminate them, granted, but an oleophobic coating on the surface would have at the very least helped reduce them. The first cool thing is, even though this guy is just a repaint, not technically based off anything, they didn't cheap out and not include the Avengers 1 specific swap out armor bits. They went to the effort of painting them in the chrome finish, and they chucked them in the box. The second cool thing is the finish. The way they use the silver underneath the black as a way of highlighting the edges of the panels is outstanding. It stops them from looking overly smooth, yet it still gives us that chrome shine. The third cool thing, and yes, it can be both an annoying and cool thing at the same time, it's the display base. I already said that visually speaking it looks dope, and it does. The chrome finish, the fact that it's circular so it looks like an arc reactor, and of course the light up effect, which is up top and around the edge. All huge pros. Do I wish the USB-C cable was included though? Absolutely. Wrapping up on the black and gold chrome Iron Man Mark 7. Hot Toys straight cooked with this one. The color scheme works, the mold was already perfect, and when there's a lack of Iron Man on screen, repainting is sort of their only option. Some people are going to be mad that this is another repaint, and I understand that. Am I a bit frustrated myself that we don't have Clint from Hawkeye or Miss Marvel from either her own show or the Marvels at the time of filming this video? Yeah, absolutely. But that doesn't take away from how good this guy looks. If you're on the fence about this, but something about the paint is calling to you, I don't blame you. The chrome just makes this guy feel special. Do be careful with it though. It seems durable enough, but if you have panels colliding with one another, you definitely will do damage. It's inevitable. I know I keep coming back to the gloves, but just one more time, maybe consider wearing them so you don't have to bust out a microfiber cloth between poses. At the end of this, is this a replacement for the regular Mark 7? No. But it's a damn fine and unique addition to the Iron Man display. Do I prefer it to the other Mark 7 repaint, the D100 silver and red version? Yeah, I reckon I do. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you are comfortable before buying. I have popped a link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.